Welcome back to the Crypto Gorilla YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the finer things in life, art. So today I want to show you how I discover new artists, as well as share with you some of my personal favorites. Now, although some of these are notable artists, their work sells for a ton of money, it doesn't mean that buying their work will magically 10x your money. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, despite wearing a suit. Now, although the goal of this video is education, it's to discover new artists. It doesn't mean that there's no financial opportunity. Two examples of this. The first one is recently I'm seeing a ton of people share these open edition mint links. An open edition is basically an unlimited supply collection. However, it's a time-based mint. So you're going to have 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, whatever time frame the artist decides to mint. And then after that, nobody could ever mint it again. A great example of this that we've seen recently is going to be Louis Ponce. Some of his work on Super Rare, on Foundation, does sell for quite a lot of money. Here you could see 30 Ethereum. You have one for 35, and his work is really impressive. However, roughly 1 month ago, he minted Witnesses as an open edition for 0.06, and it actually fell under the mint price for roughly a month. And only recently he allowed people to burn the Witnesses collection to turn it into the Greed collection for 5 minutes. And this did lead to a price spike. The Witnesses collection was selling for over 0.2, and the new collection, the Greed, was selling for almost half an Ethereum. Now, the second opportunity is going to be when one of these notable artists does drop a generative collection. This happened for mcbess. It's an artist I've covered like 5 or 6 times on this channel. He has the amazing ladies collection, and again, these pieces go for crazy amounts of Ethereum. However, he did finally launch a generative collection called Cellmates, and if you minted this and decided to flip, it was a nice 3x. Now, before I show you some of my favorite artists, let's discuss how I find these artists. So there's a few ways. The first way is by browsing exchanges. When it comes to open editions, you have Manifold. For one-of-one collections, you have Foundation, as well as Super Rare. If you like Tezos, you can try out Object. And if you're a fan of Solana, you should try out exchange.art. Now, to be honest, this really isn't efficient. There's a ton of garbage on these exchanges, similar to if you were to just browse NFTs on OpenSea. However, I do feel it is good to know all these different options. So I'm going to link all of them in the description down below. Now, some of the ways I actually do find artists is by following collectors, by following notable people in the space, and by following other artists, because they do often support each other and they'll share each other's work. So how do I find these collectors? How do I find notable people? What I like to do is to go on an artist that I know their work is really good, it's desirable. So here you could see this is Seerlight. Her work sells for 150 ETH, 90 ETH, 60 ETH, insane prices. But if we scroll near the beginning, you could see some of the well-known collectors. Here you have Vincent Van Gogh. You also have Punk6529. Another collector whose name you're going to see quite often is Cosmo de Medici. And I just want to give a shout out to a friend in the space here. I suggest you follow Ash. He is very well connected with artists. He works for DK, he works for Random Character Collective. And if you scroll through his timeline, he is sharing nothing but art. And I find a ton of different artists just by following him and by him retweeting stuff. Another thing I like to do is tour virtual museums using OnCyber. It's a great way to discover new artists, especially when you're going through a notable person's wallet, because they're going to have a variety of artists, but you can also get rewarded sometimes. For example, if you toured the Murakami exhibition and your wallet was connected to OnCyber, there was a chance that you get randomly airdropped this Murakami blade, which when it first dropped was trading for 1.4 Ethereum. So you could have gotten 1.4 Ethereum absolutely free in your wallet. Now, another thing is you could simply look on these curated art galleries like Art of the Millennium, where here they share the stories, the full profile of some of the most notable artists in the space. Now let's talk about some artists. So first up, we have one of my favorite, Sam Spratt. Now, I'm pretty obsessed with Sam's work. These are all part of his Lucci collection. I love how despite being digital pieces, these look like they're actually hand painted. The amount of detail that goes into his work is absolutely insane. This piece in particular has an extra artwork in the back, and I do feel if he made this piece stand out on its own, like its own NFT, it would sell for insane amounts of money, similar to the rest of his work. Now, his most shared piece on social media has got to be the Blueprint Skull, which is the first iteration of 50 NFTs that you could find on OpenSea called the Skulls of Lucci. And many notable people in the space do use these as their profile. For example, Vincent Van Gogh, who I spoke of earlier. But the craziest thing about this collection is that he gifted these to absolutely free free to, yes, collectors and collaborators, but also to anyone who placed a bid on his first 3 pieces, The Birth of Lucci, Lullabies for Isaac, and First Sacrifice, which is a stunning piece. It's definitely in my top 3. And if you look at the most recent trade, one of these traded 7 days ago for 30 Ethereum. So imagine all you did was place a bid. You didn't even have to spend ETH. Somebody else won the bid. You placed a bid and you got a free NFT that is currently worth $37,000. Next up, we have Otherworld. Now, Otherworld describes his work as dark art with bright colors, and we could definitely see that in the theme of his work. Dark art being these often chaotic scenarios that his characters are put in, and with bright colors, of course, they're all wearing these super colorful robes. I also love the way he does their faces. It's very minimalistic. It reminds me of the Scream character from those movies, but despite the lack of detail in their faces, you could really see their facial expressions. You really get to feel what they're feeling. Here, they're extremely terrified. Here, this one has this sinister smile on his face, like he's feeding it to death. Now, there's 2 things I want to bring up about his artwork. First of all, some of these felt very familiar, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but after doing some research, I read that all of his pieces, or most of his pieces, are either combinations or it's work from other artists in history that he reimagines in his own way. For example, this piece, Kissed the Sun, is a combination of the famous piece, The Death of Julius Caesar, mixed with the room from the Benevente family. Similarly, with the piece, The Dance of Our Sons, this is based off of the Roman trumpful entry. Now, the other thing about his work, and this is something in my opinion, which is a characteristic of a great artist, is when they become really recognizable, either through a specific art style or by finding specific traits or a character that really defines them, that really stands out in their work and it repeats throughout their work. So for him, he has a very specific art style. He has these characters that have become iconic. So if I were to see this work out in the street, if I were to see it as I'm scrolling social media without his name on it, I would immediately know this work is by Otherworld. Next up, we have Tijo. Now, Tijo is one I see very often on social media. It's often being shared. His work is all about his personal struggles with mental health. Now, if we look at some of his earlier pieces, the style was very different. It does remind me somewhat of Basquiat, the way he places things randomly throughout his work. And then in his 4th piece, 10 Feet Under My Mask, this is the first time we see this blue with this iconic character. And then as time went on, it's as if he was really discovering his style. Here you can see he starts to use a lot more blue. He starts to use this checkerboard Illuminati floor. And the more I scroll, the more he has that blue. He starts using red, white, and black exclusively, but really that blue, or his piece that has sold for the most, is Blur for over $100,000. So overall, I really love his work. There's a lot of messages in his work. This piece really looks like Sam Bankman-Fried. But like I was saying about the previous artist, this is recognizable. He really found his style. He found something that is iconic. However, he does have some pieces on OpenSea that are a bit cheaper than his one-of-ones. And one thing he did recently, just to show you, there are a ton of opportunities, even if you don't have that much Ethereum. He held a contest for his Call Me piece, where if you prove to him that you like cold showers, you can see it here, challenge airdrop cold showers, you were airdropped this piece for absolutely free. And if we look at the sales history, there's a ton of sales above 1 Ethereum. So you got it absolutely free and you made, or if you held it, but if you flipped it, you made over 1 Ethereum. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about XCopy. This is one of the most notable artists in all of Web3. Some of his pieces go for insane amounts. You can see here, this one sold for almost $2 million, another one for $1.4 million. Absolutely insane. Even his collab pieces sell for crazy amounts. He did this collab with Punk6529 for his memes collection. If you held a Max Payne, which is his open edition collection, he made roughly, I believe, $23 million in 10 minutes around a year ago. And if you held it, you were able to enter a raffle to mint this. This mint was 0.06 Ethereum, and it's currently trading for 5 ETH. I believe it hit a high of 6.5 Ethereum. So that is more than a 100x return just for entering a raffle. Now, like I said, he did do an open edition. It's called Max Payne. We're all feeling Max Payne because these have been under mint price for a very long time. They've almost reached it again. It minted for 1 Ethereum. However, ETH was much higher. Now ETH is down bad. But one thing he does do with his other collection, this one is called Grifters. He does have burns where you could burn the NFTs if you burn multiple of them and redeem a new NFT, which makes the entire collection deflationary. Now, he has not done this for Max Payne. He hasn't announced that he's going to do it or anything. He teased a year ago. He said something about a burn, but I don't think it was real. He was just teasing it. However, I'm speculating that at one point he will bring in some pain relief because we've been feeling Max Payne, and he will do a burn for this collection. Now, again, like I said, it is speculation. I own 2 of these. If you want to go sweep the floor in speculation and you pump the price on your own, I will dump on you. So that's my warning. But to me, for my situation, it's a fair bet to take because, like I said, XCopy is one of the most notable artists in the space. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I want to do more and more of these artist discovery videos. Today was notable artists. A lot of people do know who these guys are. I have a list of a ton of artists. Some of them are much smaller, so I do want to cover them. It's just hard to get information on them. So I guess it might be a video of me just showing you their work without being able to give you a lot of details on who they are. But I do think it's cool to discover new artists. So if you enjoy that, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. If you aren't already subscribed to my channel, would you kindly hit that subscribe button, smash that bell notification. Thank you for watching the Crypto Gorilla.